أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك عفو والعافية في الدين والدنيا والآخرة توفنا مسلما والحقنا بالصالحين اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع ودعاء لا يسمع ونفس لا تشبع رب زدني علما وفهما والحقنا بالصالحين والحمد لله رب العالمين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Respected brothers and very respected sisters, Jazakumullahu khairul jaza for joining us here in this masjid as well as over the internet to go through our Tuesday class inshaAllah ta'ala. We are reading through the little booklet of Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalaani rahimahullah called Munabbihaat al-Isti yawmi al-Aadi. Very famous book on spirituality, very famous book of nasiha. It is read and studied by thousands and thousands of Muslims around the world since the beginning, and it is very popular today. We are on page 53 of our notes, that the very last saying, we're going through the 5th discourses, sayings of fives, counsels in fives, that the very last one we just read was from a nasiha from Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala an, where he told us briefly, خَمْسٌ هُنَّ عَلَامَةُ مُتَّقِينَ. The signs of a muttaqi person, a person with taqwa, are 5. If a person says, I have taqwa, how do you check whether you have taqwa or not? How do you diagnose whether you have taqwa or not? This sounds very negative, but I need to say it in the positive sense. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith that we mentioned briefly last week, al-imanu uryanun. Iman is naked. وَلِبَاسُهُ التَّقْوَى. So as human beings, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Iman is naked and its dress, clothing, attire is taqwa. We can't imagine ourselves going outside in the cold and hot and you name it, as civilized beings outside naked. Iman is given to us as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this Iman has to be taken care of, protected. We need to put some sort of an apparel, some sort of clothing to cover it. Without this dress, like our bodies will perish, will become sick, and we will suffer the heat and the cold and the scorns of people, because it will be indecent behavior. You'll be probably arrested for it. You're going out naked, okay, in public in particular. Similarly, your iman has to be protected by a thing called taqwa. Taqwa is fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqwa means protecting yourself that is going to bring some harm to you, whether it is spiritual or material or anything as such. When you keep away from something, because due to some adverse effect that it might bring onto you, this is called taqwa. And the person who does this is called muttaqi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises the people of taqwa so highly in the Quran. There are actually hundreds of verses in the Quran which deals with this taqwa. The very purpose, fearing of Allah, keeping the limits of Allah, being God conscious, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you, therefore you check your behavior, control your behavior. This is called taqwa. Ittaqillah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared. Ittaqullah. Ittaqullah. Taqwa, ittaqullah, same root word. Have taqwa. So, if you say that inshallah I have taqwa, I understood. How do you check whether you have taqwa or not? If somebody says that you got, bird flu or swine flu, how do you check? There are some symptoms. Everybody can see. You've got temperature, you got this, you got this, you got this. If you haven't got them and you say that I've got this particular disease, nobody will believe you because there is no apparent symptoms that you can see and judge. The doctor says, you've got nothing. No, yeah, I have. It's all mental up here. Similarly, a Muslim has to have taqwa. If he says that he has taqwa and yet he doesn't have taqwa, it's just a empty lip service, vain talk, useless. Therefore, if somebody has taqwa, he must have 5 symptoms. 5 things must be on him, internally, in his heart. What are those 5 things? He said to us, the first is that he does not sit except with the company of people who are really concerned for akhirah, for the deen. The people who are salihin, the people who have control over their nafs and their shahawat, their whims and wishes, and towards the temptation of dunya, they are really in control. وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us that it is compulsory for us to keep the company of the people who are God-fearing, the people who are salihin, good Muslims. The definition of a good person, person of birr, person of taqwa, person of Islam, person who is practicing his Islam sincerely from the heart, is called a muttaqi person, but this person is a salih person, good person. And I believe I also defined it in the past before. You either in Islam, you're a good Muslim, or the best Muslim, or you are na'udhu billah suffering from some nifaq, hypocrisy in your heart. You cannot control your nafs, therefore you are called a fasiq in your amal. You are openly transgressing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws. Or na'udhu billah, outside this sphere is the kufr and nifaq and munafiq and kafir and mushrik, you name it. But if you're on this side, at the border, that you hardly practice, you believe in everything but you don't practice anything, you're called a fasiq. The worst possible Muslim. This Muslim has a 50-50 chance. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept him and forgive him, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish him because he deserves punishment. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. For those who do an atom's weight of goodness shall find with Allah reward. And for those who do an atom's weight of shar, evil, bad deed, sin, they shall also see with Allah punishment for it. So it's a 50-50 chance. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafurur Rahim, Sattarul Uyub, Arhamur Rahimin, most forgiving, most generous. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to forgive. Yes, true. That's for doing good stuff. But for the bad stuff, there is also a warning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is also haqq and true. Haqq and true. Therefore, a Muslim, a fasiq Muslim is a person who is in this limbo land. One day up, next day down. One day up, depending on the condition that you're caught. The condition that you're caught with in that situation by Malakul Maut, the Azrail alayhi salam, you will either die in a state of fisq, na'udhu billah, sometimes kufr. Because if you are drinking alcohol, if you're doing something haram, and Malakul Maut comes and you die in that state, you're in trouble, big trouble. Or you're in the mosque, lucky, you happen to be in the mosque and you're praying Jummah or something, you died, same thing happens. In other words, 50-50 chance, you've got no idea. Once you move from this fisq area, this transgression area, you move into the good Muslim area, salih Muslim. A Muslim, at the standard Muslim, who has got some taqwa. Salih Muslim means a person who fears Allah and tries to live Islam, practice Islam to the best of his ability. Whatever the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are, he is there to practice them. Salat, as-salatu imaduddin. No problem. Salat is the backbone of the religion. There is no Islam without salat. Yep, fasting, I must fast. Zakat, I must give. Hajj, I must go. I must do goodness and khair. Run in khidmah of the Muslimin. This is the khairun nas anfa'uhum lin nas. This is our deen. This is what a Muslim does. A salih Muslim, who is very good with his ibadah and who is sincere with his ibadah. Make sense? Salih Muslim. So, if you have taqwa, you say that you have taqwa, who do you hang around with? The people of goodness and khair, salihin, sadiqeen. That's why we say a person is like the person the company keeps. You tell me who your friends are, I will tell you exactly who you are. You tell me who you hang around with in your free time, tell me who your associates are, who do you spend your free time with, and I will tell you exactly what kind of person you are. If you are hanging around with the pizza makers, I can tell you that you're pizza making. If you're a taxi driver and you hang around with the taxi drivers. If you never come out from the nightclubs, I can tell you who you are. I can tell you who you are if you don't come out from the people who use drugs in the company of those people. I can tell you who you are. But if you never come out from the company of the good people, I can tell you who you are. Oh, you are the friend of Muhammad? MashaAllah. You are really good? MashaAllah. You don't have to say anything. Come. If Muhammad is your best friend, Muhammad, we're talking about a salih Muslim, any good Muslim, that means no problem, come. Not a problem. So the first sign of taqwa is that you hang around, you choose your friends very carefully, and you are in the company of good people. Because behavior, we said, is contagious. When you laugh, everybody starts laughing. And when you yawn, everybody starts yawning. When you do certain silly things, everybody starts cracking a joke, everybody starts cracking a joke. This is human behavior. We just copy. We just want to fit in. If your company, if your friends are good people with good akhlaq, good characteristics, you will begin to imitate them. That's why one of the duties of every parent is to make sure that they provide good companionship or good company for their children. They find some good company. Who are the friends of your son and daughter? Because they are affected by their behavior. You do your best to keep them away from harm. Because children, it's so exciting. Life is so exciting to them. Teenagers in particular, they can be influenced so easily. Try them. You keep them in the company of the non-Muslims for a while, you will see their language changes. Profanity, swearing just comes in automatically. And looking at haram, dressing in the haram manner, just comes in automatically. But if they spend in the company of the salih, good Muslim children, with conservative upbringing, with Islamic character, then you will see that they begin to say good things also. Insha'Allah, subhanallah, astaghfirullah, la ilaha illallah, in their behavior, in their words, immediately. You can see the effect of it. If they are done sincerely, you can see the behavior. The way they sit, the way they eat, the way they behave themselves towards elders and youngsters automatically changes because human behavior is contagious. That's why if you have taqwa, you tell me. You claim to have taqwa, you tell me who your friends are. I can immediately tell you who you are. First sign. Secondly, if anything that comes your way from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of great ni'mah, something, a fortune befalls your way, in this dunya, you immediately think that you are being tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So having the greatest wealth is not necessarily the best thing for a Muslim all the time. Many of us dream, one of tulul amal of nafs al-ammar, that we want to become millionaires. We want to have credit cards unlimited. We want to have the best cars. We want to have the best athletes. We want to be the most generous people. We want to be the most good-looking people, center of attention. This is how nafs al-ammar works. The best speakers, the best presenters, the best artists. This is all nafs al-ammar speaking. Dream, pipe dreams, this is called. Constantly. But a Muslim who has taqwa immediately recognizes that when something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you, He gives you for a purpose, and that is a trial. Test. Whether you see, they say money changes people. That's what it is. If some people have a couple of $1 million overnight, all of a sudden you see the sudden change in their behavior. But a muttaqi person, on the other hand, is a person who says, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing me. So how should I behave? What are the requirements of that wealth? According to Islam, do I have to pay zakat? And what is the ahkam of zakat? Do I have to pay sadaqah? Do I have to look after? Do I have to fulfill my duties towards my community, towards the ummah? What are the obligations? And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question me on these things? Halaluhu hisabun wa haramuhu adhabun. Principle applies. If something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you from a halal source so much, you will be questioned for it on the day of judgment regardless. How you earned it and how you spent it. There is no way out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely ask you and question you for every single penny. And if you acquired this wealth from haram source, it will be main reason for you to receive punishment in the hereafter. Because haram is haram. And you will be answerable, questionable for, on the day of judgment, for the same thing. Therefore, sometimes our dreams of having wealth and everything else, that we want to have it, may not be good for us all the time. So a Muslim always asks from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbil Alameen, if you give me wealth, make sure it is khair for me. If you give me some ni'mah of that kind, make sure it is good for my dunya as well as akhirah. I don't lose the path and I don't deviate from the path. Ya Rabbil Alameen, give me some sense so that I don't lose my path afterwards. So this is the second sign of taqwa. When something big befalls your way, once you discover that, alhamdulillah, you got the best enter score, you got the biggest Nobel Prize, you got this, something of the dunya, something of fame, something of money, something of maqam, status, you don't get a big head. You say this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nobody else. And if you find a practice to be from the religion, he clings to it, though it may seem to be insignificant. If you just begin to, mashallah, practice a particular sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, although some people see it as insignificant, it's only a little thing, you must regard that little practice, even that little practice, as a greatest ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah loves you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows you to give. I'd give you an example. Some Muslims in our mosque here, they have a very good habit. I really admire them. They are in difficult position when it comes to cash. They are either overseas students, they are paying their way to their education, they're driving taxis, they're working some restaurant, washing dishes or something. Just, you know the scene I am talking about. But I see it all the time as a habit. They put $1, $2, $3, $5. They put as a charity, sadaqah, donation to the masjid's money box. This is it, but what's 50 cents? What's 50 cents? Nothing. As far as you and I are concerned, there is nothing. That 50 cents is not 50 cents. It is an act of charity. Act of charity. That infaq, it is called in Arabic. To give is an ability. It should not be undermined. It is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given as a gift to that person. They stick to this practice of giving away. 2-3 cents, doesn't matter. But they can give. No matter how little this action is, but in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's regular, consistent, and therefore good. Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi used to tell us a story. He said, there was a person who used to come to his dars, very rich. And our Shaykh used to encourage that person to pay some sadaqah, give some donation, help certain with projects, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to this person. He says, yeah, I'll give inshallah, but he never gave. And one day the Shaykh went to him direct approach, not indirect approach they used to have, direct approach. He says, you are getting old. You have not given a single cent to your da'wah. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a sickness and you will die and you won't be able to give. While you're alive, give, he says. He says, okay, Shaykh, okay, no problem, inshallah. Guess what? He went home that night, and that night he had a stroke, heart attack. They have taken him to hospital, and of course he had bypass operation and what have you, and he came back to his senses. He was unconscious for a while, a couple of days. He came back to his senses, and the Shaykh went to visit him. He says, please, I am sorry. I didn't mean that you're going to have a heart attack and this is going to happen to you. I was just doing a general warning for you. He says, you know what, Shaykh? You're right. When I went through that needle, what do you call the eye of the needle, that operation, when they opened up my chest and all I lost, the whole my life flashed before me, and I said to him, I must do something. I must give. This is no good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him so much. I must give. He's thinking. He says, as I promise to you, inshallah, as soon as I come out of the hospital, as soon as I'm going to start giving. He said, guess what? He came out of the hospital after a week or so, went back to his work. Still did not give. After 3 months, he had another heart attack, but this time he died. Everything he owned passed on to his children, who had no Islam in them at all, who had no Islamic practice at all. Within, it says, they began to use it to their liking, the way they wanted to spend. Now the point here, if you find a practice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you to be part of the religion, like giving sadaqah, as the example I gave you, cling to it. This is a sign of taqwa. Although it might seem to be very insignificant, small. The persons I was mentioning before, the ones at the mosque, who give $2, $3 into the money box, that's a ni'mah, that's a practice of sadaqah. I can't do it, he can't do it, you can't do it, because you don't have this ni'mah. If you are able to, our Shaykh used to tell us also, when you go to the mosque, give money to your child and ask him to put in the box. Or when they're collecting money, ask him to give money. So they learn how to make infaq. This is a practice, it's a habit that you form within your character, within your person, that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that becomes a gift for you. You can fast on Mondays and Thursdays, mashallah, excellent. Don't see it as an insignificant act. So part of taqwa, sign of taqwa, a symptom of taqwa is that you find it easy for you to cling on to a particular practice or many practices, small practices, that you can sit after Fajr for 40 minutes, half an hour, you can read Surah Yasin, you can make some dhikrullah, you can fulfill a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you've been doing this as a habit, MashaAllah, you are indeed, you have one of the signs of taqwa. This is a great ni'mah for you, an opportunity for you. And last week we also looked at, he does not fulfill his stomach, he does not fill his stomach with the halal, fearing that that haram may be mixed with it. We went through on Friday night and explained this particular point, and last week we also touched upon. Yes, although there is a fatwa on it, there is some alim, some scholar somewhere given a fatwa on it, but you feel that it is a little bit, you feel uncomfortable with it. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, even the muftis, the people give you fatwa, ask this one. A person whose heart is full of taqwa, fear of Allah, with the fear of falling into haram, he avoids that particular halal. This is one explanation. The second explanation is that if you overindulge in halal, if it's a food for example, then you become a little bit lazy. And you enjoy so much, you put your salat, tahajjud or isha in danger because you're so sleepy, you fall asleep and therefore you don't get up and that's it, it's a danger. Therefore, in order to not to fall into haram, they avoid halal. I saw this in a better practice, the best practice at Hajj. Our Mashaykh tell us, in order to avoid haram, we will not commit halal. What? That's an oxymoron. How does that work? Halal makes you haram? Well, touching Hajar al-Aswad is a beautiful virtue. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. It's a sunnah. And he used to kiss it. That is sunnah. It's halal. Permissible. But to harm another Muslim in Kaaba, in haram, in the sacred mosque, is absolutely haram. In other words, he says, in order to avoid harming a Muslim, which is haram, I would rather avoid the halal of touching Hajar al-Aswad. Do you understand the comparison? And lastly, and he supposes that all the people will be saved and that his soul will perish. This is called tawadu' in the best possible form. Because any arrogance will be an impediment for your progress in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is very dangerous, absolutely dangerous. Because for you to feel proud of your actions is unwarranted, absolutely. You have no guarantee of any kind, that the things that you've done in the past, in terms of good and khair, in terms of good deeds, are ever accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You've got no idea. Make sense? So for you to feel that I am going to go to Jannah inshallah because I did this, you're feeling a bit big-headed with your good deeds, this is not allowed. This therefore, you say maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not accept anything from me. I do not know. Therefore, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to really treat me harshly on the Day of Judgment because I do not know. Although He's Ghafurur Rahim, Arhamur Rahimin, maybe He did not accept any of my good deeds. So I've got, until I pass over the Sirat, until my books are cleared on the Day of Judgment, until I enter into Jannah, I've got no reason to feel proud or boast about myself. Absolutely. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, who is a corrupt person? Everybody put their hand up. Ya Rasulullah, a corrupt person is a person who loses his capital, principal capital in a business venture. Bankrupt person. What did I say before? Corrupt. Bankrupt person. Bankrupt. He says, that's your definition of understanding bankruptcy. The real bankrupt person is a person who comes before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, lots of hasanat, because he did not fulfill his duties towards hukukul ibad, rights of others, and they came and collected their right from him. How? The only medium of exchange is hasanat. He gives all the hasanat to him, and there are millions of other people waiting in the queue. They've got nothing to, you've got nothing to give. They transfer all their bad deeds onto you. A person who was supposed to go to Jannah ends up being bankrupt, and they go into where? Jahannam. No guarantee. Therefore, until that time, you need to hold your horses. You need to feel humble. Maybe the person that you see before you is a young person. You say, he's got less sins than I have. He, mashallah, is still pure. I am 10 years, 20 years over him, and I've done so many wrong things. May Allah forgive me. When you see somebody older than you, and you say, mashallah, he lived longer than I have. He's done more deeds than I have, and he's much better than I am. Therefore, I've got no case to stand. No feet to stand on as far as this is concerned. Therefore, a Muslim is a person who has got taqwa, feels that he is lesser than everybody else in terms of their status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, let's go and do our salat and come back, continue with our talk. Jazakumullahu khair jaza. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back after a break for Salat. Inshallah we'll continue with our dars today. We are on page 54 of our notes. This is actually a saying from Ali, Karramallahu wajha, Sayyidina Ali, where he says, عن علي كرم الله وجهه ورضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال لولا خمس خصال لصار الناس كلهم صالحين أولها بالرأي القناعة بالجهل والحرص على الدنيا والشح بالفضل والرياء في العمل والإعجاب بالرأي Ali karramallahu wajha, as you know, is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's cousin, his son-in-law, the first young child to accept Islam. The reason why he's called karramallahu wajha each time we mention his name, because every other sahabi we say radiyallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him. But when it comes to Ali karramallahu wajha, we say karramallahu wajha, may Allah ennoble his face, because of the fact that he never and ever worshipped any idol in his life, because he accepted Islam at a younger age in hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the fourth Khalif in Islam, Khulafa al-Rashidun, Sayyidina Ali karramallahu wajha. This is one of the main students of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, were it not for 5 things, all of mankind, humanity, would have been righteous. Salihin, the word salihin, would have been righteous. What are those 5 things? So if you were to remove the following 5 things from the menu of being a human, then you will have all salihin. Everybody will be absolutely perfect human beings. Ideal, insan al-kamil, a perfect human being. What are they? If only human beings were not content with ignorance. If human beings were not content with ignorance. What does that mean? Ignorance here is not the general definition of the word ignorance. Jahala, jahl, is not what we understand the word ignorance as. Our ulama define this word as not knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not knowing the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The very purpose of our creation, as Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an, when he gives the tafsir of the ayah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not created jinn kind or the mankind except to worship us. But he reads it with لِيَعْرِفُونَ, to know us. The purpose of our existence is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to worship Him. The moment that you miss this particular point in your limited dunya life, you miss the boat. No matter how many universities you finish, how many degrees you have, how many Nobel Prizes you win, in the definition of this hadith and by the definition of Islam, you are called a jahil, ignorant. Because you do not know your Creator. You do not know your Maker. You have missed the point. You might be the most technologically advanced nation on earth like Japan, and yet you go and worship a mountain, or worship the sun, or the emperor's son, or the emperor itself, you have missed the point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create you. After all, you're a human being. Ahsani taqweem, best of creation. He created you to worship Him, not to go and worship a cow like in India, or worship a sun, or worship some material things, and you miss the point. The very purpose of your existence, for you being on this planet, is to know Allah and to worship Him. Therefore, again, Islamic definition, a person who knows this fact, who knows Allah, who knows La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, haqqan wa sidqa, without any shak, without any doubt, understands the concept of Tawheed. This person could be non-lettered, may not know how to read and write, may never have gone to a university, not even a single day at the school, but because he knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sees a beautiful flower, the yellow flower, and tears start rolling from his cheeks because Ya Rabbil Alam, subhanallah, what an art. Although he never went to school, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this iman into his heart. He has learnt it. The person is an alim, learned. The other person with 10 degrees is none other than ignoramus. He is jahil. So, if humanity were not content with their so-called cultural beliefs, their religion they're born into, the funny, weird ways of explaining the existence, their own existence, where I came from, what is the purpose of my existence? They formulated their worldview based on some nonsense, absolute. If they knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would have made the first step towards being a salih. Tawheed, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, iman. That's why they say, what's the purpose of Sharia? Why is Sharia here? Why does Sharia command certain things and prohibit certain things? If you were to study, this is called maqasid al-Sharia, the objectives of the sacred law in Islam. There are 5 of them. The first one is to protect the deen. What does that mean? Deen is what teaches you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first principle. And if you are taught the wrong deen, you have lost your mission in the world. And therefore, this temporary dunya life of yours, once it ends with your death, eternal condemnation, eternal punishment starts. Because you have missed the very purpose of your existence. You did not accept Allah. You did not know Allah. You did not bother knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You were content with the norms dictated, the doctrines, the dogma given to you by your culture, which was nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never used this grey matter. You never used the center of intelligence to find Him. You could not read the signs. You were blind in this world. And therefore, on the day of judgment, you shall be resurrected as a'ma, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So our first duty as Muslims, as human beings, human race, is to discover who we are by discovering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah. O you who believe, fear Allah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. O you who believe, fear Allah. How do you fear Allah without knowing Allah? Impossible. And prepare for the day of judgment, for tomorrow. Fear Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything that you do. The next ayah is fascinating. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أنفسهم. Don't be like those people who ignore Allah, who ignore this particular covenant that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's created you. Ignore Tawheed. Ignore your first duty as a human being, to recognize and know and learn about Allah. Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah, because you've forgotten Allah, Allah will make you forget yourselves. You will be so busy with this dunya, you think that this is your existence only. You came here to enjoy yourself, and there is no other existence. You have completely deviated from your purpose. You missed the exam question. Some people are so silly in exams. It used to happen all the time. They misread the question, absolutely. It's a 25-mark question, and which is the breaker, make or break you in the exam. You have completely missed the actual point because you missed one or two words, misunderstood it, and you have concluded your answers in a completely different direction. When the teacher looks at it, the teacher or the lecturer, the mark of your the examiner, he laughs at it. He says, he missed the point completely. And you laugh at this person. Maybe you call this person and says, listen, you misunderstood the question. Everybody understood correctly, but you misunderstood. But you don't get this chance in the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you not one warning, two warnings, millions of warnings every day. Everything points out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The khaliq kulli shay. Wajib al-wujud. And yet, we deliberately as human beings, because of the wrong education we receive, wrong environment that we're in, and sometimes we deliberately choose to be that way, we become stubborn and ignorant in our ignorance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we stay as we are. Die in that state of kufr or shirk. As simple as this. Some people are simple stupid, like the flies. They go through the glass. They try to go to the glass. They put their heads constantly. Nothing goes into their heads. They go for hours, and after 10-15 minutes of heat and exhaustion and dehydration, they die, put their legs up they're finished. You can't go through this glass. That's a glass, but the fly doesn't understand, does it? Some people are so thick, rock-headed, no matter what you say to them, their hearts are completely closed. No, my way or highway, they say. My culture all the way. I am such and such, I will just say as it is. Some people, on the other hand, choose to be that way because it just suits their purpose of their status, their environment. If they were to change their religion, if they were to accept Islam, Tawheed, everything will go the wrong way. And therefore they will stay as it is. I met one person in Sydney Road, in one of the shops, furniture shops. He came in, he was selling a barter card. I don't know whether it still exists or not. He looked like an Egyptian. I mean, I love Egyptians. This was a blonde Egyptian. It took me more, curly hair but blonde. He tried to sell something to the owner of the shop. The shop owner was busy with the customers, so he was just waiting there. And I began to talk to him. How are you? How's it going? Non-Muslim name, everything is fine. After 10-15 minutes, we got into so much discussion. You know what he said? Do you know that I'm a Muslim? I said, you're a Muslim? He says, yes, I converted about 3 months ago. I'm a Coptic Christian, he said. I became a Muslim on my own. You are the second person who knows this. I said, who's the first one? Myself. I said, subhanallah, that's an honor. Really, all of a sudden the picture changed. Because as soon as he walked in, because his talks, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this vibe that this person is unusual, there is something wrong with him. That he was a Muslim. This is besides the point. What he said to me is fascinating. He says, you know, brother, I love my mother and father. I'm the youngest in the family. Both of them are above 80 years old. And the more I read from Quran, the more what's awaiting them in the hereafter, I am so scared. I don't want my parents to go to Jahannam. I really love my parents. I cannot explain to you. And I went and cried to my mum so many times for the last 3 weeks. Mum, please, Islam is the way. Islam is the only truth. Quran is the haqq. The Egyptians, they understand that. Look, it's in Arabic. They kept on saying one thing. You mean, son, our ancestors were wrong? Thousands of Christians before us, they were wrong? They can't be that true. Look at the thinking. Because their ancestors were, according to their thinking, right, therefore they must be right. Without any questioning, they take their faith blindly. He says, no matter what I did, I could not change the heart of their parents. I still cry every night, just beg Allah to change them into Islam. Allah will not change them, because they need to change themselves from the inner. Some people deliberately, they know. Can you imagine if those two couples, the elderly, they became Muslim, what will happen to their status in the community, their friends? They'll disown them probably. They know the implications of it, the repercussions of it. They know. So they don't want to change. In history, exactly the same thing. Ignorance. People stay in kufr because they were born into that culture. As Rasulullah ﷺ says, every person, every child is born upon fitrah. Fitrah is a natural disposition, the pure nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with. And depending on the parents, Rasulullah ﷺ says, a Christian's child will become a Christian, a Jew's child will become a Jew, Zoroastrian fire worshipper's child will become a fire worshipper through the wrong education. Yeah, some people are like that. But Imam Ali karramallahu wajhah says, if humanity understood Tawheed, they understood their purpose of their existence, and they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says this is the first step towards being a salih, a good Muslim. Good Muslim. What is the second one? وَالْحِرْصُ عَلَى الدُّنْيَا. If they did not have greed over this world, this dunya, worldliness, once we come from alam al-arwah, once we're given a body after 120 days in our mother's womb, once we begin to discover this world, we fall in love with this world. We open our eyes and we forget about our primordial past, where we came from, the purpose of our existence. Absolutely forget. We develop a taste for this material world. This material world. And as we grow older, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as part of His design, we kick in 5 different levels. And one of the levels is حُبُّ جَمْعِ مَالٍ. We love to accumulate wealth. We want to have more. We want to have more. Look at the people around you. Between the ages of 20 and 65, what are they doing? The whole system is set up, which is needed for our existence, but they work day and night, because they want to get somewhere in life. They call it success. They want to be rich. Constantly, non-stop. But it's not just they are content with having just enough for themselves and feed their children. Many people are, if you ask them. Majority are, they want more than they could ever chew on. They want more. This tama', this hirs, this greed sometimes overtakes us, and we completely forget where it came from as far as Islamic Muslims are concerned, whether it is halal or haram, and we lose the path. Because this is one of the main challenges for a human being. Once we lose this challenge, you might be a good worshipper, you might be a person who doesn't eat much, you might be a person who doesn't care for some other stuff, but when it comes to this money, this worldly gain, you do not care who your friends are, you do not care who your, the school is, your jama'ah is, you just want to go ahead any possible way. Any means possible. This is hirs, this is tama'. If human beings were not greedy, Ali karramallahu wajhah says, second thing, they would have been on the path of being a salih. Third, if they did not have shuhun shadid, towards the things they have over accumulated. if they were not miserly, stingy over what is surplus in terms of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you, what does a person need to live comfortably? Comfortably, I'm talking about, creature comforts included. $10,000 a month? Wow, you have a big smile on your face. Imagine that it's $10,000. But if you're earning $55,000 a month, what do you do with the extra money? I'm saving, for what? For my future. But this is guaranteed for you that you'll have $10,000 every month. But you still want to have more. This is hirs, greed, correct? You want to have more, which is no problem, have more. But Islam encourages you to share this. Give sadaqah, charity, spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is only a test for you that you are the trustee and you're just holding on to it for a purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you as a challenge. You're supposed to share it. If people were not stingy with the excess wealth they had and spend it, shared with others, he says, there would have also been another step towards being a salih. Look at the people around you. Absolutely this condition. They are absolutely stingy. There is full of kufr. In other words, they content with ignorance. There is so much greed and there is so much stinginess for the things that you have over surplus of. And the fourth one, وَالرِّيَا فِي الْعَمَلِ, ostentation, showing off, insincerity. Opposite of riya is ikhlas. Ikhlas means sincerity. When ikhlas means doing something purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're doing ibadah, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give sadaqah, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 100%. Not a single minute amount of riya in it. This is one of the biggest challenges of a Muslim of today. No matter what you do, shaitan will come to you with this insincerity. Because our nafsul ammara thrives on praise. Our nafsul ammara wants attention and recognition. Nafsul ammara is a king on his own. He's got an empire within on his own. So any credit of any kind, any goodness that you've done, nafsul ammara says, look, I have done it, recognize me. I've done it, recognize me, I've achieved. Ana shaykh al-shuyukh. Do you know that? Ana, me, I am the best of all shaykhs. He comes to you, you are, mashallah, very handsome. Allah created you handsome. You are rich. You are powerful. You are pretty. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you as a test, you take credit for it and you show off to other people. And when it comes to ibadah in particular, you are the craziest, perhaps the most cretin amongst all human beings. When something has to be done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the weakness of your nafs al-ammara, you include other human beings' attention on you in the ibadah that you're supposed to have purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're doing salat. Allahu Akbar. Yep. You're praying on your own, there's nobody there. No problem. There is no riyah, because there's nobody can watch you. As soon as somebody walks into the masjid, the way you stand up changes. And the way you go to ruku', the amount of Subhan Rabbi al-A'la that you say in the ruku' and the sajda changes. This is all, it was so sincere, you started as a sincere person, but riyah comes in, khalas. When you're about to give $20, you made sure that I'm going to give $20 to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the box, donation. As soon as somebody coming, you just took $50 out and says, The $30 that you put in, extra $30, is called riyah. Show off. In the salat, Allahu Akbar, you're in the ruku', saying Subhan Rabbi al-Azim, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim. And you just, somebody walked in and joined the salat, and you saw that, oh, he's my future father-in-law. Okay, you say, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim, Subhan Rabbi al-Azim, Rabbi Hamd. that salat that you started with sincerity, turns into riya. Riya. In our a'mal, a Muslim can commit this particular riya. Riya is such a dangerous disease, has many forms. The most hideous form of riya, show off, is actually called ujub. This is the riya of a good Muslim. How? Alhamdulillah, I am the worst of humankind. I am the worst. I've got nothing to show. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, very humble. But in your heart, somewhere, there is a thought passing through. When you get up for tahajjud, when your brothers and sisters, other siblings are snoring, and your parents, mashallah, snoring, you can hear, the walls are shaking. And while you made wudu, mashallah, to get up and pray 2 rakats of tahajjud in seclusion, nobody knows, while you're passing, a thought passes through your heart. You're saying to yourself, look at them. What kind of human beings are these? Astaghfirullah. What did you just say? I am better than them. I am my ibadah, because I do ibadah, I must be better than them. This is a very dangerous trait. This is called ujub, very dangerous. When in the initial stages, maybe it's allowed. The sheikh, the doctor will correct this excess. Sometimes, in my childhood, I remember, some people discovered Islam after the age of 40. They discovered ibadah. They became practicing Muslims. MashaAllah, very good. They learn how to read Quran. And they're so, MashaAllah, enthusiastic. And they come first. The following day, the following morning, we're sitting and they talk to each other. And there is the sheikh. They talk to Sheikh, Alhamdulillah, I got off for tahajjud today. And I read my 20 pages of Quran. And I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Why are you telling me? Are you a child? Did you do this ibadah for me? Why are you telling me? You want praise? Because Rasulullah says in the hadith, if a person were to do something purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with ikhlas, shaitan will not let him go easily. Shaitan will come around and says, listen, tell somebody. Tell somebody about what you've done good. Astaghfirullah. But come on, man, it's a good, you can be a good example. You can be a good example to them. You show them that, this should be done. So, they come around. If you were to say to somebody, another human being, what you've done good, that ibadah that you've done purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 50% of your hasanah just wiped off. Even you told after 2 months. And the shaitan will come to you, see? Good. You tell him that now. Tell that person. You go and, you tell about your ibadah that you've done purely for Allah subhanahu, which was 100% before, 50% is gone. You tell another one, another 25% is gone, another 50% of it is gone. So only 25% left. And you go and tell somebody else, shaitan will poke you until you tell everybody else that you've done salat, gone. And you get nothing. How many times have you heard from people saying, in my 3rd Hajj, in my 7th Hajj, Alhamdulillah, what are you trying to do? You went to Hajj 7 times? This is riya. This is riya. Well, there was one particular person, mashallah, a muttaqi person, a pious person. He went to Hajj maybe 20 times. They used to ask him, how many times did you go to Hajj? He used to cry. You should ask me, not how many times I went to Hajj, how many of them did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept? How many of those Hajj Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted from? I do not know. Different concept. But you must be really crazy, you must be really lost if you think that you're making riya in the fard salat. Because in fard salat, nobody can make riya. Unless you are really few cents short of $1. Because fard is fard upon everybody. You don't say, look, I can drink water. Everybody drinks water. Look, Bismillah. Everybody breathes the air. Man, I can drink water. You must be crazy. If you think that I don't want to go to mosque because, it's riya. I don't want to pray in jama'ah. I don't want people to see my salat. It's riya. What salah are we talking about? Fard salat. Don't show people what you do for tahajjud. Sure. But fard salat, you must pray in public. Pray in jama'ah. Come to the masjid. If you think this way, shaitan is playing another game with you. Because he wants you to not to get the full hasanat of things. Insincerity, riya, and ujub in particular, is something that destroys your deen. Destroys your hasanat. Like hasad. Destroys it completely. 1 second of sincerity is better than the whole world and its contents. 1 moment of ikhlas. Purely. But to catch that ikhlas is one of the biggest challenges of humankind. And this becomes more difficult for a learned scholar. Somebody who knows the deen. That's his greatest challenge. No matter what you do, you will not free your heart, your nafs al-ammara, from this riya. Therefore, you need to sit before a doctor and learn and go through the training. Tawadu' is humility. Kibr is arrogance. Riya is show off. Ikhlas is the opposite, sincerity. If it wasn't for kibr and riya, majority of the Muslims will definitely go to Jannah. One of our mashayikh used to say, you bring me anybody with any disease you want, spiritual disease, I'll fix him up. But don't bring me anybody with kibr. Kibr is arrogance. They think that they know, they're better than others. And this kibr is one of the biggest diseases of the ulama, the scholars, learned ones. Very dangerous. And also riya for the common Muslim as they progress in the deen. And if it's not treated as one of the diseases of nafs al-ammara, one of the 12 diseases, you will continue to live that way, but you get nothing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. Riya, dangerous. Kibr is amazingly dangerous. That's why some of the so-called some of the teachers, mashayikh, when some people comes, some of the students who want to join them in their treatment, they look at them and they say, you're suffering from kibr. And therefore, they say, your treatment is completely different. There was one particular shaykh. In his younger days, he was a qaadi in Bursa. He says, Mahmud al-Khudai. He had the highest position in the Seljuk or empire at that time. MashaAllah, the most respected Supreme Court judge. A case came to him, he couldn't solve it. And he wanted evidence for this case. Evidence came afterwards. When he saw the evidence, he said, let me go and see the person who advised you to do this. I'm not going to give you the whole story. So the sheikh that he went to see, a real murshid and mukammil, he told him, sorry, I can't help you. He said, why? He says, because you suffer from arrogance. He says, what do I do to prove that I am not arrogant? How do I get rid of this? It's very simple. Can you imagine? The most prestigious job in the country is what? Being the judge in the mahkamah court, Sharia court, where everybody respects you, the whole country stands up for you. He says, yep, the job that you have to do now is to sell offal. Offal is lungs, liver, kidneys, intestines of sheep and cow. How do you sell them? In the butcher shop? Air conditioned? No, there's no air conditioning at that time. The worst profession in the land at that time was that particular seller of offal. How? He puts a long stick on his shoulders, he hangs them on hooks, and he has to walk street by street in the heat with thousands of flies, and he has to say, I sell offal. Anybody offal? Everybody says, awful you are. Offal, yeah. Lungs, kidneys and liver. Even if they gave you $1 billion, you won't do this. But he sold it for 6 months. And after that, killing that nafsul ammara, not literally, killing that kibr, he went and became a student, and masha'Allah, he became such a shaykh himself. Because when he joined the dunyawi ilm with the ukhrawi ilm together, he was like a bird soaring in the heavens. Riya is one of those dangers. Kibr is another one. So, human beings could have really made into righteousness, territory of righteousness, if they were not mura'i. They were not people who show off themselves to others. Imam Rabbani, Mujaddid Alfi Thani, Qaddasallahu Sirrahu Al-Aziz, one of our mashayikh, he says, the whole purpose of a man is his entire life is spent on one objective, subconscious level, is to prove his superiority over his fellow men. He says, I am better than you. My choices are better than you. Look at my watch, better than yours. Shoe, better than yours. My iPhone is better than yours. This, better than yours. It's all trying to push your card, push yourself over others. Riya. If you can't do it, if you're not the genuine article, you show off because you want attention. You want praise. That's what you thrive for at the basic level of nafsul ammara. Everybody, without any exception. Unless you get rid of this particular disease, you can never come to a salih level, insan al-kamil. And lastly, when you give more credence and credit to your own opinion over the opinion of others. You love yourself so much, and your ra'i in one particular opinion, your opinion on a particular issue is final. You don't want to listen to anybody. Anna, I am better than... Why people argue? What is the purpose of argument? Because I know better. This is one of the muhlikat. One of the things that destroys you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says so in the hadith. Ijabul mar'i bi ra'yihi. When a person constantly follows on whims and wishes, and he believes that he knows everything well. This is actually a Muslim problem these days. Jahil Muslims' problem is they know everything. They know nothing. They know nothing, and yet they constantly think that they know everything. Self-opinionatedness is the word. And following your own whims and wishes, your own definition. I know two brothers. One is, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him such a good akhlaq, such a good tawadu', and he's a very humble person. I meant to say that his brother, Next brother in line, I could not even recognize, I could not even believe my eyes. I said, subhanAllah, are you the brothers? Because this brother, mashallah, he does not accept anything and he knows everything. He's got an opinion on every topic possible. Every topic possible. Religious or non-religious. Economics, science, technology. Before you say anything, he's already, yep. What is this? And he's there to argue with you. And he has to win the argument. It's a disease. A Muslim is the one who's supposed to listen. No matter how much you learn, how much you know, there is always somebody who knows better than you. One particular person came to a sheikh, a German brother, revered brother. And he sat with some of that particular sheikh, but he will not let the sheikh speak. He wants to talk himself because he's trying to impress the sheikh. This German brother, learned German brother. And he said, he gone, I read this, I've done this, I've run this, I've finished this. And the sheikh is listening. He says, I read Mathnawi of Jalaluddin al-Rumi from cover to cover, 12 volumes. And he began to talk about Mathnawi. And the Shaykh said gently, what's the first word of Mathnawi? When you open the book, what does it say after Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? What's the first, how does the first poem start of Mathnawi? The person says, subhanAllah, I went blank. I cannot remember. I was so embarrassed. I kept quiet. And he didn't know what to say. He went red. He can't remember anything. The sheikh didn't say anything. And the conversation changed to something else. And he remembered after 20 minutes. The first word of Mathnawi says, listen. Listen. It's a command. Listen, here. The sheikh was trying to teach him a lesson. He turned and says, he was going to tell him, he just got the answer. The sheikh says, listen. We love our own opinions. We want to captivate the audience. We want, if you have the gift of the gap, and if you are articulate, especially amongst the sisters, amongst the brothers, it is a defense mechanism, it's just a facade. They want to prove their superiority over others. They can shut you down with their lap-laps, yap-yaps. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you. Is this the best Muslim? Are we talking about a Muslim should not be articulate? I'm not saying this, don't get me wrong. A Muslim should be learned. Muslim should know things, both worldly as well as ukhrawi, and know the facts. But a Muslim at the same time should show the humility and know his or her limits and when to stop and when to listen, when to talk. When to talk. This is our problem. If human beings were not in love with themselves and constantly spoke about and they valued their own opinion more than everybody else, they know everything, and if they were sincere in their actions, don't show any riyah, and they shared what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, what is in surplus, and they did not show hirs, tama', greed towards this worldliness, wealth, and they knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would have been regarded as the most righteous beings on earth. As Imam Ali, karramallahu wajhah, says so. Shall we stop or continue? Is there indicator? Okay. Jazakumullahu khair jaza. We will inshallah continue with our journey next week. I was intending to finish 3 of them, but could not only finish 1. May Allah forgive me for talking too much. And we thank you for joining us tonight, as well as all of our brothers and sisters and the families and the groups who are watching over the internet throughout Australia and around the globe. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our learning, change our attitudes towards our deen from one of showing off to one of sincerity, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our yaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our taqwa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our haya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our fiqh and ilm. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our a'mal and salihah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who are called mukhlasoon by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon the ones who passed before us amongst the Muslims. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always keep us on hidayah and in tawheed, inshaAllah ta'ala. جزاكم الله خير الجزاء سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك لله تعالى الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان